Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Assassination Nation. And this is written and directed by Sam Levinson and starring a group of young actresses, including Odessa Young, Harry Neff, Suki Waterhouse, and Abra. And these four women, young women, are in this high school in this small town of Salem where, high concept idea, somebody leaks a bunch of data from people, including their search histories, their pictures, their text messages, and what the hell will happen after that. The trailer makes it seem like this is from start to finish some crazy like purge level like insanity film. It's not quite that. And honestly, when it really came down to it, I was glad that it wasn't. And this film deals with the backlash of potential things leaking out in a community and looking at how people deal with it. I put this in my Instagram post when I posted that I wanted to go see this film yesterday. I felt like this could be a very edgy film with a lot to say and really work, or it could be a highly stylized mess of just an idea trying to piece things together. It kind of part as a whole. There's parts of each of those things, and I feel like this is a tale of two movies. The first part of the movie is where we're just dealing with slowly leaking out of things and the seemingly normal humanistic things that will happen based off of this. Some of it is very violent and grotesque at this point, but it still feels real. And then this crazy purge level mayhem second half of the film where it's like, I feel like it went a little too gratuitous and went a little too far. So basically I was right and wrong. It kind of hits on both of those things. And Sam Levinson, I feel like, does a good job of bringing style to this. This has a very distinct style. This is a very stylistic film. Whether it's splitting screens or highlight colors and slow motion and just how this all put together. And honestly, this film is really well put together, and I'm not surprised this is from Neon Productions, because this really does feel like a lot of their other films where it's highly stylized, in your face, but really has a lot to say. And I feel like Levinson does a really good job of conveying those messages, because it really does hit home, and this is a pretty deep film in terms of what it's trying to say. At moments it does feel a little preachy and on the nose, because there are some characters that are literally having conversations about these moral issues that it's like, duh. Because it's like, blah 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 blah. No, blah 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 blah. No, blah blah blah. And it's just like, okay, we get it. You're trying to put a debate out there through your dialogue, and it does feel a little on the nose at moments throughout the film. Does this film make you feel on edge and tense and worrying about what's going to happen next? Yes, it does. Levinson does a really good job of doing that as a director and trying to convey the feelings of this film. Pacing. I felt like the first part of the movie has a nice slow burning pace where you're building up to something, and then all of a sudden hits like 120 miles an hour and just goes full mayhem. And honestly, that part got a little exhausting for me. I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. Let's just wrap this up, finish this up. When is this going to end, kind of thing. And that really bothered me, because I was really enjoying this and really into this film for the most part up to this point. It was a little in your face and a little obnoxious. I don't know if this is just a 26-year-old man trying to make sense of a bunch of feelings of young women, but so is the director and the writer of this. But the idea is, some of it I didn't connect with, and I felt like an arm's length away at moments. But in terms of the overall of how this was put together, I think Levinson does a good job. Now, how this was written, I feel like they had a much more intriguing story throughout the first act like probably 2 acts of this film that, and if it continued at that level and didn't turn into this giant like purge kind of mayhem, I think I would have enjoyed this film more. But where it was lacking, I felt like, was where this film hit. What if a whole entire town turned on itself? And that was the least interesting part of the movie. In terms of like suspense and thrills and stuff, that's where it really does hit into gear. But I think the more subdued version of these events were much more interesting. And in terms of the characters, there's not a lot of depth to a whole lot of these characters in this film. And I feel like that makes it a little harder for us to feel. There are moments where it's like some of our young women, like probably like 2 of them, have these really complex issues, and our main character is an interesting protagonist, and she is somebody that we can connect with and follow along in this film. And then her transgender friend, who's played by a transgender woman as well, her character is also more interesting due to some of the things that she has to deal with. And beyond that, it's more of just like, here's somebody, let's drop them in, let's see them for a couple minutes, and let's see how their whole entire life could get screwed up. And it's hard for you to make some kind of connection. With the dialogue, some of it is really funny and really poignant and really biting, but some of it's more on the nose, obnoxious, exposition heavy. So it kind of tries to find that balance, and it doesn't find it in the best way, but overall I think it's an interesting attempt at this film. I do enjoy this film to an extent. Enjoy might not be the correct word, but in terms of the music, Ian Holtkhorst does a really good job of creating a score that really fits the vibe of this. This is supposed to be a high intense modern teenage thriller, and it really does capture like the pulse of today and the kind of music and the angsty emotion that would be felt in this film, and the music does convey that very well. And Marcel Rev, who's the cinematographer, the camera work in this was inspired. I was really impressed by camera movements throughout this film and like tilts of the camera. And there's this one particular shot of an almost glass house, and the camera following along the characters in the house through all the windows, and then seeing people outside the house and building that tension and telling that story in a very interesting long takes and just following along. And I was sitting there like, got my attention, and I was really inspired by those choices. In terms of performances, like our main actress Odessa Young, who plays Lily, I felt like she did a really good job, and Harry Neff, who plays her friend Bex, who's her transgender friend, who these 2 are the ones that really get the most to work with, and I think they do a really good job. Everybody else, for the most part, plays their stereotypes. Towards the end, it gets a little over the top, and everybody gets a little over the top, and it's just like, okay, going a little there. And I forgot to write his name down, but the actor who played their principal, I think, did a really good job as well. Like Joel McHale and Bill Skarsgård are both in this, and they both have moments where it's like they really go for it, and it's like it's what the character's supposed to be doing, and they do it well. They make me feel uncomfortable. It's just kind of like, I wish I had more to work with. Overall, I think this film is balancing a decent, like, really actually hitting on what it was supposed to be trying to do, and also, like, being a little too ambitious or not really hitting its mark. I would semi-recommend this. If you're somebody who's, like, super into film, I think it's worth checking out for different reasons. If you're somebody who's just looking for, like, a good time at the movies, this isn't really the movie that you want to go see. If you're really into, like, suspense and thriller and gore and, like, in-your-face kind of stuff, this is the kind of movie for you. So, I recommend with conditions based off of what you're kind of looking for. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.